What's up everyone, welcome back to the shop. I feel like if I want to be a better maker, I should try to challenge myself creatively. So I'm gonna try to take a conventional project, a box, and make it unconventional. Okay, hear me out on this one. What I'm picturing is a box that will have brackets, and the brackets appear to be holding the box together. So what I'm picturing is each side will have mitered corners, and where those miters meet, there'll also be brackets that flare out, and those brackets will meet, and that's where you'll stick a bolt through it. So what I would have to do is make my sides, and then I think make brackets that are thicker, and then glue those on top, and then do some shaping or whatever. It makes sense in my head, I think. So I've got this really thick piece of maple here. I chainsaw milled this up, and it's like a couple inches thick. So if I cut it there and cut it down this way, and then resaw that in half, I should be able to get all four of my pieces out of this and the brackets. I milled up my pieces, let them acclimate overnight, came back again today, remilled them up, and then I cut them to their final length. Right now my pieces are 3/4 of an inch thick. So what I'm gonna do is go over to the table saw and cut the ends off, set those off to the side. Then take the center piece and mill it down to a 1/2 inch thick. That's gonna be the actual size of the box. Then I'll take those other ends, glue them back on, they're thicker. Those will ultimately be the brackets that I need to hold the whole thing together. I got the box sides, and then I have those offcuts that are gonna be the bracket. So I went ahead and made a template, because y'all know I like to make templates. So I took that, cut those into pieces. Now what I'm gonna do is take these offcuts, and I'm gonna make 2 blocks out of them, because I want 2 brackets per side. Now I'm gonna take the template, stick it on the bracket, go over to the scroll saw, and rough cut those out. So I've gotta do quite a bit of them. But I wanna make sure that I keep that offcut, because I'm gonna take the offcut and use that to help kind of make like a glue block to make sure that I get good clamping pressure to glue those brackets back on our box sides. I got all of my pieces finally made. That was a whole lot of work. There's probably a bunch of different ways that I could have done this, you know, different types of glue ups, different types of bracket shapes, whatever. So if somebody was gonna make this, they could try all kinds of different ways to do it, but you know, hey, I just gotta come up with some method and try it out. So now I want to do some miter joints. So I'm gonna go over to the table saw, set my blade at 45 degrees, cut the miters off of those, and then drill some holes into these brackets, and hopefully all these pieces will line up and our bolts will fit through. I was drilling the holes in my brackets, and of course I dropped one of my pieces and it shattered. So big setback. I got to figure out how to fix it, because I don't want to remake it. I think I might be able to fix it, and then go from there. All right, I think I got the brackets fixed, so that's done. We'll see whenever I go to put finish on it. So now I'm trying out different size bolts. So these are not the exact bolts I'm gonna use for this. I just wanna see, first off, does it all go together? And then, you know, try to determine what size bolt I'm gonna go with. So that's all looking pretty good. It's assembled well. So now I need to go ahead and cut a groove in the bottom for, well, the bottom. So I need to find a piece of maple, mill it down to bottom thickness, cut the groove, stick it in there, glue it together. I'm gonna go ahead and glue the miters together. I'm not gonna glue the brackets. I like the look, now that I'm seeing it, I like the look with no glue between the brackets. There's like a little bit of a kind of little gap, you know, because the bolts are not tight all the way. I like the look of that because it's gonna look like that the box is just held with the bolts with no glue. That's what I want to go with. So yeah, let's go find a box bottom. The glue is dry. I had to do a whole lot of sanding. It all looks good. Now I get to work on the lid. Now, whenever I cut the groove for the bottom, I went ahead and cut a rabbet on the inside face here of the top so that I can have a lid that just kind of sits in place. Because I don't want to do hinges, just a friction fit lid's gonna work. So I'm going to find a piece of maple, cut it so it fits in that area there. Probably maybe 3/8 of an inch thick, something. I just wanted to kind of stay elevated just a bit above the top. And then I got to figure out a handle. I don't know what I'm going to do for that. Not really sure what type of handle to do with this, so I asked my wife. She came up with a couple really good ideas. One of them, she said, is you're already doing bolts for the brackets, incorporate bolts into the handle as well. So like maybe a piece of leather and it's bolted down to the lid, and then you use the leather to lift it up. That was a really good idea. So I got to find a piece of leather and bolt it on there and kind of figure out what size to make it and everything. But I think it's going to turn out really cool. I picked out the size bolts that I want, but they're shiny, and I don't want that. They have this zinc coating on them, which is pretty common. I want the bolts to be rusted. I think that would be a cool look. So what I'm gonna do is a two-step process. I'm gonna first bathe these in a mixture of water and citric acid, and that's gonna remove the zinc coating. Then I can do the next step, which is to actually make it rusted. So what I've got here is just some warm water in a jar. My citric acid, I'm gonna put a couple tablespoons in here and mix it up. Now you can get citric acid at a bunch of different places. You can order it online and everything. If you go to a store and you're looking for it, then maybe look in the canning aisle where they have canned foods. That's usually where it's at. So put a couple tablespoons in here and let's do some science. I know someone's gonna ask me what the ratio of water is to this, and I have no idea. I just put some water in a jar and put a couple tablespoons in there. And the thing is if it's not working, you add more citric acid until it works. Not a biggie. All right, I've got all my bolts here. We're gonna drop these dudes in, and hopefully we'll start to see a little bit of bubbles form on them. And then we can dry them off and do the next step. After like a half hour, you can see what that citric acid does. So take a look at that bolt right there. It looks kind of matted gray. That's what it looked like before. So this has the zinc coating on it. This is after like a half hour. So now this, I should be able to easily rust with a combination of things. I want the bolts on the box to be rusted. So to do that, a combination of things. We've got some hydrogen peroxide, some vinegar, and some salt. So how to do this is I'm gonna pour a bunch of this into a squirt bottle and then pour some of the vinegar in there and then put a little salt in there and mix it up and then a little squirt. As far as the ratio goes, I'm just gonna make it up. Just know that the majority of it is hydrogen peroxide. So that. I got my spray bottle, so let's make them rusty. Little squirt. That should start rusting basically immediately. And the longer I let it sit on there, the rustier it's gonna get. So I'm just gonna let it sit on there for a bit until I get the patina that I want. And then I'm gonna spray them with a clear coat, like a lacquer or something, to seal it in before I put them in the box. This is such a weird project that I absolutely love it. I think every maker should build something like this. It doesn't have to be this exact project. Just taking an item and then applying some crazy constraint to it that makes you get creative on how you're gonna make it. When you have those constraints, you have to build things in unique ways, and then that hones some skills that you've maybe never used before. So I walk away from this project going, I know I learned a ton, I like how it turned out, and I just feel like I am a better woodworker for it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider subscribing to the channel, and to meet again, get in your shop and build something awesome.